Hello and welcome to my quick little video on exactly how the skip for death row is done. This is a really easy glitch, but it's an absolutely massive time saver because you skip an entire level. It's at least like a minute and a half. I don't know, I have never actually ran death row, so I can't tell you exactly how long it is. Anyway, basically this glitch is really easy to do, and it basically comes in three parts. First of all, you have to jetpack over to the other side of this room. The reason why you have to jetpack is because if you don't jetpack, you'll just walk in there, the gates will go down, you get captured, go to death row. That's how the level's supposed to end anyway. So the reason why you jetpack is because triggers for the game are all on the floor. So the idea is if you use the jetpack and you don't actually touch the floor, you won't actually set off the trigger. So in this case, this trigger triggers this gate to come up and traps you in there, which is, that's how the level's supposed to end. That's completely fine. Another spot where this is really used is on this level in Lunar Reactor. So, you're speed running through here, and I don't know if you noticed in the video, but I jetpack through this area, and then come over here, press the button, level continues like normal. The reason why I jetpack there is because if you don't jetpack, if I just do this again, and don't jetpack, enemies spawn here. That doesn't happen if you don't jetpack coming across here. So that's just sort of another idea where the idea of triggers being on the floor is really useful and how they can be abused. Because if these enemies are here, then it can be harder to press this button, you lose health that you don't need to lose, that kind of stuff. So anyway, back to here. So you jetpack to the other side of the room. Then you have to press the button at the end there. Now this button's actually really hard to press because it's not supposed to be pressed. You're supposed to be captured and you're not ever supposed to be able to press this button. So you have to come at it at an angle. So you can't press it straight on. You can't just run up to it and press the button. It won't work. I don't even know why it's functional at all if you're not supposed to get there, but whatever, developers did what they did. So anyway, you have to get to the other side of this room, press this button when this bit of dialogue starts. Then you open a menu. So I press the F1 key, which opens this little bit of story. I press F1 just because it's the most convenient button, but you can press, one of the other keys to open quick save, quick load, and that kind of stuff. You can't press escape and pause the game though, for some reason. It does it in any other menu except the actual pause menu. For some reason, it just doesn't work. And so the idea is that when the bit of dialogue finishes, you just close this menu by pressing escape. The level will end, and you will be in Toxic Dump. Like, that's literally all there is to it. A little bit of explanation exactly why it works. You pressing that button triggers the game to go to the next level, as expected. However, that bit of dialogue ending also triggers to go to the next level, because obviously you're not supposed to be able to press the button, so the bit of dialogue ending is what causes you to go to the next level. So the idea is that you pressing that button when that bit of dialogue starts and then closing it after that dialogue ends, you've lined up two triggers to go to the next level, one from pressing the button and one from the bit of dialogue ending. And by entering a menu, you can line them up. And so you basically do the game is basically fooled into skipping you forward a level by doing the go to level +1, basically, is what's going on in the code, and that happens twice, so it puts you forward 2 levels instead of 1. So you skip death row, which is really important because then you lose all your items at the start of death row, so it can be a little bit tricky of a level to do. Plus, it's a pretty long level, and you just flat out skip a level, just a massive time saver, and you don't lose any items. So I hope this was helpful to anyone who is curious on exactly how this glitch works, but it's a really easy glitch to do. I just did it wrong. Literally, just as I say it's a really easy glitch to do, I do it wrong. I'm really good at this game, I promise. It's a really easy glitch to do. It's a really massive time saver, and yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, hope it answered some questions, and yeah, thanks for watching.